We joined when the director was somebody Mato, and we were located at what then was referred to as the information house at Mfangano Street, opposite, or close to the bus station of the city.
From Lamu, I got posted to Ndanyi in Taita Taveta district. I served there from beginning of 1973 up to mid-74. I left and went and went for a course in the Netherlands. We went to do a training in the printing industry so that when we came back, we started the government rural press. The rural press was one of those innovative services of the ministry at the time, because there was something which happened in the 70s. That was the decade of information, which was declared by UNESCO. And Kenya was a very ambitious country that took this seriously. So we started the rural press as a means of taking government information down to the grassroots, but also giving the local people a voice, a channel through which they can speak to the government and speak among themselves internally also in their regions. So we did the first one in Vihiga. That was covering the former Vihiga division, which is now Vihiga district. And it was a marvelous experience. We published a Bumanyati newspaper, which was for the clans of the area, Bunyore, Maragoli, Nyangori, and Tiriki. And that was a marvelous opportunity. There was a lot of interest. UNESCO took a lot of interest. People came to see what we were doing in taking information to the grassroots.
We used to edit and print publications like Pamoja, Uraia Mwema, Serikali Yetu, and others.
From Vihiga, we moved to Meru, and we did Sauti ya Meru. And while we were there, we were able also to start other newspapers. We started Habari for Northeastern. We started Sauti ya Kisii. That later on was set up with its own printing unit over there. And the rural press grew by leaps and bounds until it was felt countrywide. We had regional newspapers, district newspapers, the whole country.
I did not get involved very much with the KNA because I concentrated on publications. We produced publications and distributed the publications to the public.
From Vihiga, we moved to Meru, and we did Sauti ya Meru. And while we were there, we were able also to start other newspapers. We started Habari for Northeastern. We started Sauti ya Kisii. That later on was set up with its own printing unit over there. And the rural press grew by leaps and bounds until it was felt countrywide. We had regional newspapers, district newspapers, the whole country.
They are sort of propaganda material. Which meant to make people be loyal and learn development from other areas about how people developed. So it was, and it was free. These were free publications. They were free publications teaching people about government and making people good citizens, and people read it.
I believe the program went down because of the impact of the electronic media. The electronic media was instant, it was interactive in a big way, and that has grown as the rural press has gone down because of the costs of printing and the attendant expenses that go with it. The electronic media now has held sway up to today. So
I continued in the ministry, moving from station to station. In fact, I served in all the provinces except Rift Valley and Coast. I had an opportunity to be trained as a journalist when I was based in Kisumu. I was given an opportunity to study journalism with International Press Institute based in Nairobi. It was a good course, and I had a beautiful diploma at the end of it. We enjoyed that time. You get free education, free training actually, free accommodation while training with full salary. It was a nice time then. And that training empowered me. So whenever there was any job advertised, if I produced that certificate, I almost got a job, and then kept on getting promotion with that diploma.
The agency was organized in such a way that all newcomers came to the headquarters, and it is there where we were inducted for perhaps a minimum of 3 months, and then people started getting deployed to different places out of the city, to KBC as well. But for me, I stayed at the news agency after those 3 months. The main duty was really first to accompany the experienced reporters. You accompanied them. They allowed you to do a story as they did their story, and then they gave you their story to look at, but then also looked at yours, and they would go through and show you how you should have done it.
Sumu, when we used to get news from Nairobi through a tape, and then we typed it out and read the news. One story came, a statement by the governor that time. The governor was Patrick Renison. So the story said, the governor of Kenya, Sir Patrick Renison, yesterday said that Jomo Kenyatta is a leader of darkness and death. We had to broadcast it, and I think it must have been broadcast somewhere else, not only Kisumu, because we had to do it. It came from high authority, a thing you would never hear now. It came from high authority, and you have to broadcast it as it is, because it had come from authority. And a few years later, Mzee was released from detention.
There was also a radio link. While we were doing that, there was a FM station that the ministry started with the help of UNESCO in Homa Bay. So we were tackling information on the ground with the printed word. But we were also communicating with the people through the national radio, Voice of Kenya, and the FM radio, which was now carrying local news in our region here, in Nyanza and Western. And that was a marvelous media mix for development. And it was quite a challenging, but quite interesting and very exciting.
I had only a chance to work in Nairobi and in Mombasa. The copy that was coming from the field would come through the telex machines, and then there was a team which was working on shifts to edit that copy. So we also got a chance to be inducted through that process of editing, but that is after the 3 months after you've already gone to the field, you are doing a bit of reporting.
I joined a research section which had been established called Hivi Ndivyo Ilivyo.
One of the interesting things, or things that I felt really interested me, was to do stories that were not in the diary, stories that I would do on my own. And so that meant even just not waiting for transport, but going on my own and then I come back with a story. I did that in Nairobi as well as in Mombasa.
I left the field and came to Nairobi in the beginning of '82. I came to the newsroom in Broadcasting House, and that was a time when Kenya was really going through a new change again, you know. People were hungry for information, and KNA was the only body that was covering the entire country. We had offices all over the country. We had this advantage over the newspapers, and they printed a lot of KNA news. So KNA became the face of Kenya.
Well, from Embu, I went to Nyeri, Central Province, as PIO, serving for 2 years only. The time when there was attempted coup, it found me in Nyeri. I had been transferred to Kisumu and got the posting letter. So when the coup was attempted, I was wondering how I would get to Kisumu. That was 1982. From Kisumu, I was transferred back to Kisumu on request because I knew I was almost approaching retirement and I wanted to retire near home. So I went to Kisumu and served for 2 years as PIO.
There was a problem of quality sometimes because there was a bulk of the material we received. Sometimes it suffered quality constraints based on probably lack of training, and also the ministry was changing from the older generation to the new generation. The new young men who are coming would work first, then go for training later. But they overcame the challenges of transition, and the newsroom made a gigantic change at the time. And then, fortunately, one of us who was employed with us in '69, we were a group of about 12 people who were employed in '69. One of our own in our group, Cornelius Nyamboki, became director of broadcasting when I was a news supervisor in the newsroom. That was a wonderful link because he had come from the field. He had been a newsman in the field. He had been an editor with us. That changed the newsroom entirely. There's a new crop of officers who knew each other, and they created a new image for the newsroom. The newsroom cleared the hurdles of errors and things, and we came into the newsroom people with a vast experience in the country. Because while I was in Lamu, I was able to go to even Garissa, go to Samburu, go to the northern part of Kenya, and we are people who are hands-on in terms of covering the country. Even as an editor, you could correct things because you know those places. So we gave the newsroom a new image, and with that new director, we've never looked back. I think we've done well.
I thought at the beginning, and as the years progressed, KNA had equipment, KNA had facilities, especially in terms of movement. But midway somehow, I think because of perhaps other demands in the country, I think funding for the agency went down, so that government was not able to really reinvigorate the services, and they kept going down and going down.